Hello and welcome to Protect Ukraine Now YouTube channel. In May of this year, the Pentagon admitted to $3 billion accounting error in aid to Ukraine. Later in June, it was revealed that the error was actually twice as big as initially reported, amounting in total to $6.2 billion. During the Pentagon briefing on June 20th, 2023, Deputy Pentagon Secretary Sabrina Singh acknowledged the error and confirmed that additional defense articles would be made available to Ukraine. It's just going to go back into the pot of money that we have allocated for the PDAs, and we will roll out the next package when we have that announcement, said Sabrina. This led everyone to believe that Ukraine had more military assistance than previously thought. However, as we reached December, it became apparent that when mistakes occur, someone has to bear the consequences. And unfortunately, that someone is Ukraine. Before we dive in further, let's look at how PDA program functions. The Presidential Drawdown Authority has two components. These components are unrelated to each other, or at least there's no direct correlation between them. The first one is the authority. The president is authorized by the Congress to transfer certain defense articles to Ukraine up to the cap specified by that authorization. In case of Ukraine, that cap was set to $25.5 billion. The second component is replenishment funds that Congress allocates to the Department of Defense so they can replenish their stock and get compensated for their losses. In case of Ukraine, the Congress allocated $25.93 billion so that Department of Defense can replenish its stock. With that explanation out of the way, let's go back to looking at the accounting error. Turns out the Pentagon forgot to depreciate the cost of the used articles going to Ukraine. Instead, they have used replacement cost calculations to get reimbursed. This is even higher valuation than the cost of the new article back in the day because prices do go up over time. Here, this error is explained in an article posted in The Hill back on May 18, 2023. Essentially, Pentagon officials used replacement cost to value the weapons rather than value of the weapons through purchase and depreciation. So effectively, the Pentagon was replenishing itself with ordering brand new munitions based on assumption it's getting replacement cost value for the older generation equipment going to Ukraine. When the error was discovered, the Pentagon recalculated the cost of the weapons sent to Ukraine based on the depreciated cost evaluation. However, a wrong calculations method was used since the beginning of the PDA program in year 2022, resulting in substantial amount of excess money being already spent by May 2023 when the error was discovered. And this brings us to December with $4.5 billion left in authorization and almost no replenishment funds left. The Department of Defense was spending the reimbursement money faster than it was supplying Ukraine with weapons. I would like to thank everyone who is still watching this video, and I hope this explanation clarifies a little bit what has happened with replenishment funds. Everything I have covered so far were facts, and I'm including the sources to the information I was showing in the description to this video. I also would like to share some thoughts on the matter. By the time all replenishment funds are used, the Department of Defense should be receiving in full $25.93 billion allocated by the Congress. This dollar amount was never changed. It was well known ahead of time by the Department of Defense. They had a chance to plan accordingly. They spent the money exactly the way they intended this money to be spent. So this PDA saga is not about the money back to Pentagon, or in other words, making sure the US Army gets what they need today to be well equipped and functional. The second component of the PDA program, authorization, is all about figuring out how much of the equipment we still have to ship to Ukraine. The quantity of that equipment depends on the cost of the depreciated items and the cap set by the Congress, which is $25.5 billion. This math is already done, and there are no disputes as far as I know. The remaining allowance is already calculated, and this number is $4.5 billion worth of defense articles. Based on this logic, I must conclude that $4.5 billion in military assistance to Ukraine is being held back strictly for political reasons. American politics is outside of the scope here, and I'm not going to go into that. However, I would like to note that this practice is not in the interests of Ukraine. Does this mean that because of political reasons, no additional PDA aid will be shipped to Ukraine? No, I don't think so. There probably will be small packages, as we have seen in the past, continue to ship to Ukraine. You are looking at Department of Defense briefing from December 4. During this briefing, there was a question asked by one of the reporters about the capacity to send military aid to Ukraine as it stands today. To this question, Pentagon Press Secretary Sabrina Singh didn't give a straight answer, but she strongly hinted that they have submitted a supplemental request to Congress, and that makes a solid connection between replenishment funds and PDA aid sent to Ukraine. So Sabrina makes a strong connection between insufficient funds and insufficient aid to Ukraine. However, those numbers don't add up. As I explained earlier, the Pentagon got fully reimbursed for their expenses, and they should be able to send weapons that Ukraine requires. I don't understand this politics. I have no explanation why we are decreasing military aid to a country in war, the country that we promised to support for as long as it takes. However, the amount of military aid is going down. Looking at the military aid distribution over time graph posted on protectukrainenow.org military aid section, you can see how the PDA packages sent to Ukraine have decreased over time. In the beginning of the year, there were around $500 million to $1 billion in some cases. Earlier in the time, in the year 2022, many of them were around $1 billion or more. In general, these packages, if we take average, they were about $1.1 billion historically. If we look at the size of the packages as of the past few months, they're significantly less. They're $0.3, $0.2 billion. That sentiment is also reflected in the media. The military assistance to Ukraine from the United States is going down. I urge everyone watching this video to look at the US strategy for supporting Ukraine outside of American politics and bureaucracy. There are no moral, economical, or political reasons to deny Ukraine the weapons it needs for survival. As Americans, we must advocate in Congress for our own interests. At the moment, those are helping Ukraine win and Putin lose. I urge every person to call their senators and representatives and tell them Ukraine needs weapons now. We have $4.5 billion in Presidential Drawdown Authority, and this aid must be sent to Ukraine without further delay. All of it. The 2024 supplemental for Ukraine must be reallocated, prioritizing most of it towards PDA or any other immediate military assistance program. The US and its allies did not give Ukraine the tools it needed to succeed in the counteroffensive, and now we're denying Ukraine the tools it needs for survival. The administration must deliver a clear plan for helping Ukraine achieve decisive victory over aggressor. I also would like to urge every pro-Ukrainian community leader, organizer, activist to make these arguments the main talk points in their advocacy. Ukraine is on the verge of losing this war, among other things, because it doesn't have the military capabilities it requires. Victory or defeat are defined by the ability of armed forces on both sides to continue fighting. And Ukraine is losing people at a rate it cannot sustain for too long. The time is also running out on the support we can expect from the American public. This could be our last chance to save Ukraine. I would like to thank everyone for watching to the end, taking action, and sharing this message. I also appreciate your feedback, so please leave us a comment or send an email. Our contact information is listed on protectukrainenow.org.